Welcome to the season premiere of Crossover Contest. Today, we'll be looking at two pink cartoon characters known for wandering around in their underwear. We have Captain Underpants, the comical superhero made by George and Harold, and Richard Watterson, the greatest couch potato of Elmore. Before we start with the video, here are some rules that we'll be having for this match. For one, we will not be counting any crossover scaling, which would include Magic School Bus, Word Girl, or Toon Cup scaling, alongside other crossovers that the characters might have. Dimensional scaling will also not be taken into account, and will be equalized for this match. Both combatants will be in character for this match, thus the battle could end in either a death, or when one gets knocked out. For the media that we'll be using, we'll be primarily using the Captain Underpants book series and Amazing World of Gumball as the main kind of primary source for both characters. However, other media will be used, such as the movie and Netflix shows for Captain Underpants, and a couple of the Cartoon Network games for Richard Watterson. So, without further ado, let's start with Captain Underpants. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, there existed a planet called Underpantsy World. However, this world was about to be destroyed by unknown means, leaving only one person surviving the destruction of the planet, landing on Earth and being raised by dolphins? Well, either way, they raised him up to be the greatest hero of all time, the amazing Captain Underpants. This, however, is actually one of the stories George and Harold created together. Being friends from since they were kids, they loved making stories together, working on all their projects in a treehouse, but one character always stood out, that being Captain Underpants. Their friendship was strong, until their principal finally was able to get them to move to separate classes, something that would have destroyed their friendship once and for all. Thus, with no time to think, they planned to hypnotize the principal, causing him to become the character they had made, the amazing Captain Underpants. However, even though he was hypnotized, he still didn't have any of the powers, but after drinking superpower juice, he gained all the powers that he had from the comics. It's a bit convenient, but okay. This allowed him to actually beat Dr. Poopy Pants and his giant robot once and for all, saving the day. And while Captain Underpants may not look it, he's actually a very powerful character. He can lift up giant robots, pick 700,000 kilograms over his head, fight a sandwich that could destroy a bridge, fight a robot that could shake the earth, beat a character who could destroy the earth, clog the toilet with enough energy to create a star, could fight and move as a constellation made up of 31 stars, and was able to harm slightly younger tiny tippy Tinkletousers, it took forever to say, who could survive the Big Bang. He isn't just strong, however, he's also incredibly fast. He could move at lightning speeds and fight a robot who could travel from Uranus to Earth in a short amount of time. Assuming this to be about 5 minutes, this would be about 32.9 times the speed of light, which is actually consistent with what other characters have been able to do. But one of Captain Underpants' most impressive stats is actually his durability. Even as a baby, he was able to survive being flung from his home planet to Earth in only 7 seconds, which is really impressive, mainly because Underpantsy World is in another galaxy. Assuming this to be the Andromeda Galaxy as a base, which is 152,000 light years away, he would actually be able to survive a hit strong enough to destroy a star. Even this is nothing compared to his grown-up self, as he was able to actually fight a person who can move 58 stars. However, Captain Underpants isn't really the smartest character, as shown when Dr. Poopy Pants scanned his brain. Even though that's the case, he has an impressive set of abilities. He can fly, has wedgie powers, laser vision, the ability to survive in space, slight force wall breaking, slight Toon Force-esque abilities, 100% cotton-powered vision, and can regain his powers if lost or stolen. He has infinite underwear, which I should probably mention doesn't actually make him infinitely strong, it's more just an ability. But he does have some major weaknesses. If he actually were to ever get wet, he'd actually revert back to a human, pretty much losing all of his powers. So while he may not be the smartest character ever made, he is still a hero who stands for truth, justice, and everything pre-shrunken cottony. In a city as crazy as Elmore, one family definitely stands out above the rest: the Watterson family. They are known for pretty much being the cause of complete destruction everywhere they go. And yet, one of them is definitely a bit different. Richard Watterson, pretty much said to be the laziest person since the summer of '83, It's strange how people kind of consider him some kind of crazy, powerful, godlike cartoon character. So let's check out his stats and see what kind of godlike feats he's done. Starting off with strength, Richard has actually done some pretty impressive stuff. He's able to smash through walls and floors with little to no effort. He's done this. Don't question it. He should also be equal in power to Penny's dad, who was able to bruise the moon. Looking at the mark it made, it should actually be about this much energy. So, wait, is that it? Oh. Okay. Well, let's check his speed. Okay. Well, okay, so he was easily able to run across the entire city and was able to actually max out a speed camera, reading 200 miles per hour. Now, I know that doesn't sound that impressive, but this actually allows us to calculate another speed feat he has done. As in one episode, he was able to run from the store to home, change clothes, and run back in the time it took for someone to blink once. Calculating the speed, we have a speed of Mach 146. Okay, you can probably see now that Richard isn't the most physically strong character, mainly as he doesn't really scale to some of the more absurd feats in the show. This is mainly due to each of the Wattersons actually being better in one field, and thus scaling all the family members to each other doesn't really make a lot of sense, as it doesn't really fit all too well with the characters. Thus, Gumball and Darwin have definitely the most body control and toon force, Nicole is the most experienced fighter, and Anais is definitely the smartest of the bunch. Thus, even though they have all fought one another, you can't scale all of them to each other. But the one stat Richard does scale above is actually his durability. Richard is supposed to kind of be the most durable character in the show, so scaling him above all the rest of the characters in this stat makes a lot more sense than some of the other ones. So, Richard is able to survive being able to fall out of a plane, was able to survive Darwin sneezes point blank. He scales to Gumball being able to survive an attack from Bobbert, also scales to him being able to be flung all the way into space, all the way past Saturn, and one of his most impressive stats is able to scale to Gumball being able to survive the Big Bang happening really close to him. So while he may not be physically strong, he does actually have a really large list of abilities that would definitely help in this match. He has toon force, low level body control, can reverse time, can make imagination into reality, is supernaturally lucky, is a genius when it comes to food, and can hear things from across Elmore. He's also able to destroy the entire universe if he gets a job. He also has the lucky hat, which is able to increase his luck even further. The reason we're kind of giving Richard the hat is mainly due to the fact that he gets it during the game Sky Streaker, where he's able to actually access his job uniform whenever he wants. This job form is actually the form that allows him to pretty much destroy all of reality. He was able to control gravity, able to change the art style of the people around him, and nearly destroyed the entire universe if he wasn't careful enough. So, I think if you nearly destroy the entire universe just by getting a job, I think I'd be lazy too. And so, after running all the numbers and abilities, we can finally figure out who will win. But before I say that, comment down any matchups below that you might want to see. I might be able to cover them in later videos. And so, the winner is Captain Underpants. This shouldn't be much of a shock for a lot of you, considering the stats that both characters have. While Richard is definitely more durable, it's even debatable if that is the case, considering Captain Underpants' top level of strength could theoretically match that. Looking down at all the positives and negatives that both characters have, you definitely tell that Captain Underpants is way stronger, even without the possibility of the two universal stats kind of equalizing out. He's a lot faster and much more durable than anything Richard could actually dish out, while Richard is much weaker and slower, but theoretically more durable. We are kind of giving Richard the more durability stat, as Captain Underpants' universe Big Bang feat is a bit of a strange one, and almost a bit of an outlier, considering all the other stuff that has occurred. Not to mention, we can't really measure that feat, as it's never actually specifically shown, rather more stated by one of the characters. Going through the abilities, Richard does seem to take them a bit, considering the fact that he has the ability to rewind time, can increase his luck and can increase it even further with stuff like his hat, has much better Toon Force, and has a much more powerful alternate form, which is actually much stronger than anything Captain Underpants has been able to show. Not to mention, it's a big negative that Richard can't actually access his alternate form for that long, considering his incredible laziness. So it's even unlikely, if he were to even get the form, to actually be able to use it to deliver a final blow. This kind of brings us on to our weaknesses, and Captain Underpants definitely takes this category, only having 4 proper weaknesses, and with those not even really being all too bad. He can't really counter Richard's luck, he's unable to counter the time reversal, and he's unable to seriously harm him. He also has worse Toon Force, although that isn't really much of a factor in this match, considering how much stronger he is. While Richard has a lot more weaknesses, he's been knocked out by far less than the Big Bang feat, theoretically meaning that Captain Underpants could have won the match in one single punch, which is actually pretty likely and very in character for Richard, with his durability being a bit debatable, him being less inclined to fight, lack of fighting experience, bit of an ego, and extreme laziness. I will say that Captain Underpants definitely wins this battle. So, what do you think of this match? Are there any other matches that you might want to see? Comment them down below, and let's see what's next time on Crossover Contest.